on blast.
And we are live. This is the Wrap It Up on Blast Raps postgame show. As always, my name is Sheldon Alexander, and this episode of Wrap It Up is brought to you by Clean Cuts Barbershop, 2013 Danforth Avenue in the East End of Toronto. Clean Cuts, the multicultural barbers that will always keep you fresh for any and all occasions. So go see Skip and the crew. As a wise man once said, tell them that I sent you. Check them out on Instagram at Clean Cuts Toronto or give them a call, 416-917-4833 to book your appointments now. Well, Raptors fans, that one did not go the way that we wanted, the way that we anticipated maybe, but hey, nobody said winning an NBA Finals championship was going to be easy. It's not supposed to be easy. Golden State wins to even up the NBA Finals at 1. Again, my name is Sheldon Alexander. I got a full crew in with me today. First up, Bellamo. What's up, man? How you doing?
As good as can be. I think we all will agree, Toronto fans, that as up and down this game was, the last 5 minutes, Golden State not scoring. The Raptors kind of let this slip away.
They did. Q, how you doing, man?
I'm good. I know you think I'm sad, but
you seem sad. Both you guys, while I'm setting up, just to give people a peek behind the scenes, I'm like setting up, and I'm like, guys, are you okay? Quiet. Everyone's
You're too
silent.
happy.
I'm like, hey guys, can you do a mic check? Yeah, sure, no problem.
it's not sad. It's more like
I'm stunned.
I was more ready to celebrate.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was in celebration mode for most of the game.
This feeling right now, I feel like if we go back to the Sixers series where the Raps won game 1 pretty easily,
right.
Spicy P had a massive game, everyone was feeling good, and then game 2 was kind of one where people walked away like, we didn't play well, had a chance late, but let it slip away, look back on it, should have won, didn't win. And I'm going to urge people to go back to that series and just realize that it's not supposed to be easy. It's going to be tough. This is a good team, obviously. And where the Raptors should have won this game for sure, I still walk away from this game, and this is me personally. I walk away from this game still thinking that if the Raptors play like they're supposed to play, they will win. Meaning, this loss was self-inflicting. It wasn't because of what Golden State did. Golden State they won this game because of one run at the third quarter, in my opinion.
Their defense was much better this game, though.
No.
I just think
I thought it was much more aggressive. I did.
But
DeMarcus
again, I think it's still self-inflicted.
At the start, I will agree with Mike. I think at the start, Boogie definitely came out with intensity, right? He was guarding Gasol hard.
Very hard.
You know, they were all up in the Raptors' grill. I guess as Steve Kerr said, he wanted to make the Raptors feel them a little more.
Play a bit harder.
Yeah. And we saw that early. Like, the intensity was definitely there from Golden State. But I just think overall, the Raptors let this game slip away. And I know there's a bunch of different narratives here, right? So we'll talk about all of these things. Boogie's impact in this game. We'll talk about the refs. I know people got a lot to say about the refs. Steph Curry was sick. Clay got hurt. Looney got hurt. Lowry fouling out. The third quarter run. Draymond big game. So many things to talk about in this game.
Brothers.
So many things to talk about in this game, for sure.
Yeah, of course.
But let's kind of go through it in order, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Does that work? We'll start with the high scores in the game, and it was Kawhi Leonard with 34 points in this game. 8 of 20, not a great shooting night, but 16 of 16 got to the line. 14 rebounds by Kawhi Leonard. He tried. And then you go to the Golden State side, and Klay Thompson was a high scorer on their team with 25 points.
The series is split, and Golden State has now taken home court advantage.
I mean,
yes.
The series doesn't start until a road team wins.
Okay, right. So the series has started, but I mean, but let's be real. I mean, in a perfect world, the Raptors are up 2-0.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, you still got to go there and win one.
Realistically, a 1-1 is like
normal,
right?
It's good
because a lot of people, basketball experts, had us getting swept.
True.
Right.
That's true. That part is true.
A lot of people had us getting LeBron in this series.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not satisfied with just saying, well, you never got swept. I'm not saying that. You're saying
no.
We got
Series is Series is not done.
The way we're playing is
this is as a realist. You're going back to Golden State 1-1.
You take that if you're the Raps.
You take that.
But
right?
the way they've played.
If you're 29 teams in the NBA and you tell me in the NBA Finals.
No.
and you're in the NBA Finals.
I agree.
And you're in the series score is 1-1. 28 other cities in the NBA are applauding themselves right now.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm
right?
just
So
saying
I understand.
the way we've played.
Of course.
It seems like the Raptors should be heading to Oracle up 2-0.
I don't think so. I don't think they deserve to win this game at all.
I know they didn't shoot well.
I think they played terrible in this game. And the thing is, to me, and a lot of talk's going to come about the refs, whatever. Yeah. And I think that if you give up, and what was that run to start the third? It was like 14-0 run, 16-0 run or whatever it was. And it ended up being like a 20, I had it written down here and I can't find it. But it was essentially like a 20-1 run from this end of the second quarter to the start of the third. Mm-hmm. And anytime you let that happen in a game, you don't deserve to win. Yeah. Like that's just an unacceptable run.
Yeah, it was a bad quarter. Yeah.
And it wasn't even the fact that
and at that point
you went from up 11 to down 11.
Yeah,
exactly. And it wasn't even like Golden State was doing something to you. They just missed, the Raptors missed shots. Yep. And then Golden State on offense, they were just running like back cuts and like getting easy layups from the Raptors having defensive lapses.
Yeah, but that whole run started with the Draymond Green, granted to him, the Draymond Green defensive rebounds, and they were in the bonus
at
the end of the second quarter, which cut the lead. I think it went into down 5. I mean, Steph Curry did go on his run where he had 0 points, 0 of 6, and then ended up finishing the first half with I think 14 or 16 points. Granted, a lot of those from the line. Same with Draymond. We'll talk about that more because that has to do with the refs. But what I was saying was, you are right. They didn't deserve this because they didn't play well besides Kawhi and Fred. But I just meant, again, when we go back to the Milwaukee series, we broke down that series, majority of the first 4 games, by quarters. And if you break down the first 8 quarters in the NBA Finals, I want to say the Raptors have won 7, maybe 6 of them.
Yeah.
Quarters, right?
Yeah.
They played good the first half.
Yeah.
They got blown out in the third quarter.
They won
and
7,
then what the Raptors did in the
quarters.
third defensively or offensively, the Golden State Warriors kind of did in the fourth quarter. We just haven't enough firepower.
So here's the thing, though, right? And you're totally right with everything you just said. They've won 7 out of the 8 quarters in the series.
Pretty much,
totally
yeah.
right. No. Like, that's facts, right? So here's the thing. The Golden State Warriors offense struggling late in that game, meaning they didn't score until that Iguodala 3 until there was for the last 5 minutes of the game, that Iguodala 3 was their only points.
Yeah.
That's supposed to happen to Golden State when they only have Steph Curry as their only offensive threat on the floor.
Of course.
The Raptors don't have an excuse. Kyle Lowry fouled out of the game. There was that run where we said back to back to back, right? Fred missed a wide open 3. Siakam missed a wide open 3. Kawhi missed a wide open 3. And at that point, it was a 3.5-minute drought for the Warriors, and the Raps just couldn't get anything going. And if not for Kawhi getting to the line, getting those free throws after the tech, by Steph Curry, that cut it to 5 and kind of gave the Raptors another life. Yeah. But they already blew the game at that point. Like that point, like that offensive lapse, like that was your chance. If you start hitting those shots.
So when the Raptors when the Golden State Warriors didn't score in the last 3.5 minutes of the game.
5.
Sorry, 5.5 minutes.
Pretty much half the quarter.
But I remember at one point it was 3.5 minutes. The Raptors in that same span only scored 5 points.
Yeah.
So
that's the difference in the game.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's a game right there. And I think in those 2 spurts, how the game ended and that third quarter spurt, that's the ball game. And I know a lot of other things, like people are talking about Boogie Cousins. Boogie Cousins was entered into the starting lineup in this game, and DeMarcus Cousins in this game, 11 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, played 28 minutes.
Yeah.
He was a factor in this game for Golden State into the starting lineup. Do you think that's something the Raps should worry about or be worried going forward?
No, I think what DeMarcus Cousins went into the starting lineup, knowing full-fledged from his coaches, play aggressively. If you foul out, we're okay with that. So he went in knowing if I foul out, coach is okay with them. So he played super, super aggressive. Off the tip-off from the first quarter, he was all over Gasol. Now, the series is tied. That whole narrative, I guess the coach might have given him, the aggressive defense, I think is done. Yeah. I don't know how the game plan is going to be games 3 and 4, but I could be wrong, but I don't see DeMarcus Cousins playing that loosely again, especially with Clay being hampered. Now you got Kevon Looney being hampered, so they're going to need DeMarcus Cousins more,
And
which
Bogut.
means he's going to have to be, he's going to have to be a little less tentative, right?
Yeah.
So he played well, but I think he got the blessing to play wild.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's
Which
kind of
gave him.
I think it's kind of a thing where they said, "Hey, you got 30 minutes.
Go and do your thing.
Go do your thing for
Yeah.
30 minutes. Don't think about anything else. Don't think about
fouls.
don't think about starting. Don't think about when your minutes are going to come. Just know you got 30 minutes, and we're going to try to pace you out."
Great move by Coach Kerr. Put him in your lineup, give him a bit of confidence, and say, "Don't worry about your time or fouls. Let me handle that. Just play." Right, and it worked.
Q, what are your thoughts on Boogie Cousins? Was he a factor? Is it something the Raps should?
I think, of course, he was a factor.
Okay.
I think what he stops is now Marc Gasol's not the biggest guy on the floor. So if you remember game one, sure, Marc Gasol hit 1 or 2 or maybe 3 threes in that game, but he was also running and scoring layups, getting layups.
Yeah.
Boogie Cousins doesn't afford him that option.
Yeah.
No.
Right?
Yep.
So Marc Gasol, one, was less effective. He was less aggressive offensively.
Played with a lot of fouls.
He was still but he had fouls game 1 too as well.
Yeah.
So he yes, he'll still make those passes,
Yeah.
but his scoring wasn't there, and I think a lot of that had to do with Boogie Cousins.
Yeah, Boogie Cousins definitely was a huge factor in this game, and I think that, if you really break down the difference between game 1 and game 2, and you look at certain things from the Toronto Raptors' point of view, well, game 1 we obviously know was a Pascal Siakam show. 32 points, 8 rebounds, 14 of 17 shooting. You go to game 2, and in game 2, Pascal Siakam, 12 points on 5 of 18 shooting.
Yeah.
Marc Gasol as well. So we're talking Raps front line here. Marc Gasol in game 1, 20 points, 7 rebounds, 6 of 10 shooting. Marc Gasol in game 2, 6 points, 2 of 7 shooting, 6 rebounds. That's a massive factor because, again, there's going to be – and notice how we haven't mentioned the refs yet, which we'll get to the refs for sure. But I wanted to make sure that we talked about all these other things because the Raptors had their chances in spite of it. And I also feel like – and I like to hear, too, from the people that are listening and watching what feed you were watching. Were you watching the Canadian broadcast or the U.S. broadcast? Because I'm interested in that in terms of how you viewed the game. Because I was watching the ABC broadcast. And, yes, the refs were terrible. And I thought they were terrible both ways, but I don't want to get into refs yet. Anyways, the reason I bring that up was just to say, yes, it's a thing. We'll get to that. But there are a lot of other issues involved with the Toronto Raptors. And you can't have that drop-off in production from your other guys and still expect to beat the Golden State Warriors, to me.
Exactly.
2 of 7, that's not good from Gasol. He was not a factor in this game. Is that fair to say? I don't think he was a factor at all.
Offensively, no. I mean, again, he's going to make some passes, right? Where he's almost that center point guard where the offense will run through him, but he has to be a threat.
Yeah. And Siakam can't have that drop off. We know that he's not going to shoot.
I can spend the next 30 minutes on Siakam.
Well, we know that Siakam's not going to shoot. What was it? 14 for 17?
Never expected that again.
Right? You know that's not going to happen again.
I mean, we mentioned that in game 1, right?
Yeah.
Like when they were showing, if you're watching whatever feed you were watching, you were showing all of a sudden Pascal Siakam was being mentioned with Allen Iverson and Michael Jordan, right? Only players to score 35 and 5 in their first
stats
in their first finals game, right?
Crazy,
right? But that's the company he was being mentioned in, right?
But we knew that Draymond would step up. We knew that they would.
No,
put
but
a
I don't.
little bit of a
But I
game
don't.
plan
But
on
this is the thing is I don't think
Before we get to
Draymond.
that, though, Draymond, you're gonna diss Draymond, but I think Draymond backed
No,
up.
but I wasn't dissing Draymond.
Okay,
I'm just saying. If you make Draymond's game, Draymond's an all-star in this league, right?
Yeah.
Draymond's a somebody, right?
Legit.
If you make his job easier, right?
Okay.
If you do not challenge Draymond, Draymond is going to embarrass you.
Okay.
Right?
So what did Siakam to you do differently in game 2 than what he did in game 1?
He was
Was
not
it Draymond?
He was
doing
not
defense,
aggressive.
or
It doesn't matter.
not
But it doesn't
aggressive?
matter.
Okay. No, what was it?
I don't believe that there was anybody on Golden State who should physically be able to guard Pascal Siakam.
Okay.
The people that can
Quickness or
the people
obviously
that the people
quickness, right?
that can keep up with him on a quickness level are not his size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The people that are of his size are not of his quickness.
Okay.
So him being aggressive. Remember, him being aggressive put Draymond in foul trouble.
Yeah,
Right?
in the first game. That's true.
Right?
So here's the thing, though. It's almost like what we've been talking about all year with Pascal. Like he's there, like he's arrived. The glow up, as we talked about, is definitely a thing. It's there. We know that. But the next step is kind of knowing where to go and watching Kawhi, for example, and how Kawhi makes you play at his pace. Siakam almost has to choose, and exactly what you're saying. What I'm going to do is going to be different if Draymond's guarding me. It's going to be different if Bogut's guarding me.
Right.
Like, that's just got to be the adjustment made from Pascal's game. And I think that there were certain moments where he wasn't going up aggressive enough, but also the big jam, big man camp where you shit everything in the key. You get the ball and you dunk it. You go up trying to dunk. And either you're going to finish with the dunk through contact or you're going to get fouled and go to the line. But there's a lot of, he gets the ball, everyone's there, and he's trying to like lay it up. And you saw Draymond get a couple blocks on that. You saw him just miss a couple layups. And again, you can't have a game where if you're the second leading scorer on the team, you can't have a game where you go 5 for 18.
Yeah.
That can't happen.
And you said during the game, too, he needs to take a couple lessons from Serge and learning to cramp.
Just
down.
dunk it. Go up.
But I think it's your first finals. You've only been in the league 3 years. You had that game one. I think you at least come out game two thinking, hey, I can do this again.
Yeah.
Right?
It's tough.
And
though.
see like
It's tough.
My
man.
thing with the Raptors is I don't feel as if they challenge anybody to switch to them.
Interesting.
Right? I think they have this game plan, and they stick with that game plan. And I'm not putting this on Nick Nurse because I think Nick Nurse did a good job tonight.
Yeah.
So I'm putting more on the players where it's like there was times where Siakam got the ball at the 3-point line and look, and who's guarding you? Bogut.
Yeah.
Forget whatever play was called.
Blow by it.
Bogut's guarding me.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things, right? Like Kyle Lowry, you look at Kyle Lowry's numbers too, and I feel like Siakam numbers that he put up in game one, it was like great, cool, whatever, but there was not enough breakdown. But there wasn't enough breakdown to me in terms of how he got those points. And a lot of those points were on the leak out, meaning Raptors defense to offense. He's on the fast break. He's getting a layup. And a lot of those plays were in transition. There's stuff like that. And also there was a stat where Siakam was 49% from the floor with Kawhi on the floor, 29% with Kawhi off the floor.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of different things that go into it other than just give the ball to Siakam and let him cook. Because I kind of feel like they get into trouble when they just give him the ball and let him cook. It's got to be in the flow of the offense and some pick and roll, some kind of action. Him cutting to the basket. Something.
Of course.
You didn't remember the
I don't
first
really like when they
like-
give it to him and
No,
just
no,
let him
but
go.
I'm not saying- but
Go on.
No, just going to say quickly. We remember the first quarter. I know it's been a long game. If we get back, there was the Fred VanVleet, the 2-on-1. The alley-oop crammed Siakam, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
I mean, it's little tidbits, but I thought Darryl said, okay, he still got it going, right? And it's just what Sheldon was saying was, I thought Draymond played. He was a 2 assist shot, triple-double again. It was, but again, we just go back to, he wasn't as efficient. He wasn't as aggressive, you're right. But it was the Warriors' defense, I just felt, was so much more aggressive on the Raptors.
Draymond, I think Draymond did take it personally, and I give Draymond Green a lot of credit because after that game, after game one, he's like, hey, he's a star, ride, but that's on me. I got to take him out of this series. And even if it's not straight up defense, he was coming over and helping a lot. He was there to contest a bunch of shots. And even beyond that, we said his 10, 10, and 10 wasn't enough. 17 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists from Draymond. He upped his scoring, 6 to 12.
That's Draymond. That's what you're expecting from Draymond.
Draymond showed up in game two.
And I'm not saying that Pascal is just going to run over Draymond on a consistent basis. But I just don't feel like he was aggressive. So regardless of the stats you mentioned, I remember it being an even. So there was those breakout plays where obviously nobody Pascal Siakam size is going to keep up with him going down the floor, right? But like you said, if all of a sudden they decide, okay, Iguodala is going to guard me, my game changes.
Yeah.
Clay's on me, my game changes, right?
No,
I don't feel like
I think
I don't think So I don't think he was just like give Siakam the ball and go in game one.
Yeah.
I feel like Siakam looked up and said, "I can take you," and he took him.
But I still think that was after you gain the confidence from getting layups.
Of
Do you
course,
know what I mean?
yeah,
Like you gain confidence after you see the ball go through the basket, right? Then you're confident when you're taking your three. Right? You're confident now. He hit like by the end of the game, this guy was hitting circus shots over his shoulder and shit, right?
Right.
Which again, Siakam can't do that, but I don't think it's on Siakam alone because I don't think
not.
Kyle Lowry
Definitely
had a really good shooting game in this game. It was 4 of 11 from the floor in this game.
He hit a
13
couple good
points.
threes.
He had a couple of good threes, 3 of 7 from 3, but 4 of 11 shooting, you take it. But he can't foul out in this game. You can't foul out in the NBA Finals as a point guard. That's unacceptable. You can't do that.
Is that a
Am
perfect
I wrong?
segue? Is that a perfect segue for how the refs ref this game?
Maybe it is. So we got a lot of comments, and here's the thing. This is the Wrap It Up podcast. Part of what we try to do here each and every episode is we try to hear from the fans, what the fan base is feeling, because this is your podcast as well. And a big talking point throughout the game was the referees. And right away, Fazil on Twitter, and first off, if you don't know how to get us, we're live on Twitter at Shell Alexander or on Instagram at Sheldon Alexander. You can get to us at both places. And I always mention the conversation always continues, which it will, on YouTube, on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, where we post the podcast afterwards and it lives there. And I mean, Michael will attest. We're in there talking to people.
The community
and
is
we
live,
will,
especially
we will
in the
continue
finals,
talking to them throughout the week, like in between the games. But for this sake, the refs. Fazil on Twitter says, the refs hit the dagger in the first half and Iggy hit the game dagger. It hurts. Let's see here. I'm trying to find the ref comments. I saw them earlier, but obviously they keep scrolling.
While you scroll, can I just say something quick?
Go ahead. What was
about
your take on the refs?
Well, not about the refs, just quickly about
You just asked to talk
yeah,
about
no,
the refs.
I know, but that's why I wanted. I do. But I just want to also mimic something about the third quarter for the Raptors. If we remember, guys, the second quarter, Golden State kind of had that lull as well, where they went 7 minutes, the first 7 minutes in the second quarter without scoring as well.
Okay.
Right. So I know we want to talk about refs, but I just wanted to go back if we look.
Right. Well, again, that's a perfect segue into the refs because yes, they couldn't score.
Yeah.
But
and then they got their
going
calls.
to the line.
Exactly.
Right.
They got all the calls, and they were like mostly when we watch NBA games, you're in the bonus in the last couple minutes of the quarter. It seemed like 6 minutes to go. They're in the bonus, and it went Golden State's way majority of the times, right?
Yeah, and so at the final, final tally here in terms of free throws,
it was even.
It was 23 free throws taken for the Warriors and
21 or something.
26 free throws taken for the Toronto Raptors. So the Raptors actually took more free throws, but again, as I always say, not all stats are created equally. Meaning, if you watch the game, what you guys are talking about is more the timing of it all.
Exactly.
And Len here on Instagram says the refs prevented the Raps from playing their brand of defense. Too many whistles, and the lead was lost, and they lost some momentum.
Yep, the Kyle Lowry one was a big one to me on DeMarcus Cousins, which should have been a charge.
Yeah,
he was not in the restricted area. There was another couple, and they said it on the ESPN
It was
ABC
Steph
feed.
jumping
Steph
back into
jumps
the
to
defender.
the left. Gets Pascal,
right? And then there's the one where he jumped into
Fred, and he
Fred.
stuck his butt out. You know what I mean?
So I mean, I say it after every game that a certain individual refs, he needs to be banned from the country.
I'm not going to say any names after Tony Brothers. I'm not saying any names after that.
And if it wasn't for the other ref overruling him on
Steph
a couple occasions, it would have been even worse.
Yeah.
But he just
poor Tony Brothers, always trending in Canada.
he just shouldn't be allowed in the country.
Fault, though. It's crazy.
It doesn't. At the end of the day, listen. We're always talking about it's been 24 years. We've been Raptors fans for 24 years, living in Toronto your whole life, 24, 25 years since 95, 96. We know we're not going to get the benefit of the doubt when it comes to the refs, no matter who's reffing the game, right?
Even with Barack Obama in the crowd.
Right. So we know this, right?
But in the NBA Finals against the Warriors,
right,
you kind of know. Like, I wasn't coming in expecting the Raps to get calls in this series.
Exactly.
Kawhi already battles for calls way too much that he should be getting. Like, he should be living at the line even more than he already is.
Yeah.
But you're right. The one where Steph Curry is driving, stops his momentum, and then knows the defender's behind him.
Yep, he's got
That's
eyes
just
in
a
the back of his head.
crafty play, right? Like that's just a crafty play by a guy who knows he can get to the line. And
But he
what you're
blocked Siakam's lane.
totally.
Yeah.
No.
And
That's
the
just
momentum
a crafty,
of a defender trying to defend.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to stop. Like, you're not the road runner, even though I used to call Siakam
I just
the road
think
runner,
no.
right?
I just think
Like,
9 times out of 10, right
You're
or
getting that
wrong,
call.
Steph's
Yeah.
going to get that call
course.
on
Yeah.
Siakam, and it's not the correct call. I'm just saying
no,
he's
yeah.
going to get that
Yeah.
call, right?
And I think that's where it comes where maybe not on Fred's because that was behind the 3-point line, but Siakam's got to realize there's only going to be two endings to this, right? He's either going to get 2 points at the line and I'm going to get a foul, or he's just going to make that bucket, right?
yeah.
Steph's not missing from there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So sometimes you guys got to think like, yeah, I'm going to, the footsteps are going to be there. I might yell boo, but I'm not going to put my body right up into him like that,
Another
right?
Yeah.
big play, too, was the non-call on Fred when he had the lane.
Yeah.
Steph.
Then he
Yeah,
made the
there's a bunch.
steal
There-
on
That
Steph.
could have been
Yeah.
2 free throws and the ball.
Yeah, he made the steal on
Oh, yeah.
Steph.
There
going
should have
the
been
other way.
about 14 other
But
and ones.
here's
but
the
it's,
thing. Here's the thing, right? That the Warriors do so well, and this is a championship pedigree, and you see it from Kawhi at times, right? And I feel like exactly what you guys were talking about. The Raptors had the lead at about 10. They could have pushed it to even more.
Yeah.
But what Draymond did was he picked up a few chippies.
Very
right?
smart.
Like he knew Lowry's on him. You're
Yep.
battling for a rebound.
Flops.
You get the rebound, and then you flop to make it look like
fall
he
on
hit you.
Lowry,
Yeah,
yeah. And you're in
that
the
just-
bonus, and-
that just picked up a couple extra free throws, and then at the point where the Raptors could have been blowing them out, Draymond did that twice, got to the line. Then Steph
did
got
it.
to the line
Steph
as
did
well.
it
He scored
twice,
about
so
8
the-
points
Yeah,
off of those bonus free throws in the last 2 minutes of the half.
Yeah.
cutting it down to
where they
5.
were, and again, you're thinking, oh, it's just 8 points, but it came at a time where they had no offense going, and the Raps were making a run.
because the thing off the start of the game, Klay Thompson was red hot.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
He
of
had-
course.
First 9 points.
Yeah, Klay was going crazy, and they were on a crazy run to start the game, but he was basically the only person doing anything. And if you think about it, through the first 5 minutes of the game, Klay had 9 points. Kawhi and Klay combined were 5 of 8. Everyone else in the entire game was 0 for 11.
Yeah.
So it was an ugly game to start.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about. The Raps were kind of pushing, and then Draymond makes a run. Draymond was making plays. Draymond was getting fouled, getting to the line, turns into a 10-0 run. And if not for the Raptors bench unit, which I thought gave them a real boost in this game, where it was VanVleet, Norm, Serge, playing with Danny Green and Pascal, they gave the Raptors some really good minutes. And it was just Steph and Draymond living at the line, and that's what had it at a 1-point lead after one. Same thing goes for a second quarter, as you were just saying.
7 minutes
Raps go out on a 10-0 run.
We were up 14 at one point.
Raps are looking good. Raps were all over the paint. Things were going good. Klay's 5 of 8. Other Warriors were 4 of 24. VanVleet was out here cooking.
Yep.
Like VanVleet was putting in work. Freddie had another great game. And then, as you mentioned, Mikey, this was a key. Steph started 0 of 6, then hit his next 4 shots.
Yeah.
Got to the line, had 6 of his 7 free throws. Klay had 18. And all of a sudden at half, you're Golden State. After a
Down.
great first quarter,
Down 5.
first half, down 5.
They started 7 of 16 shooting, Golden State. And during that lull, like we're talking about, 2 of 16, right?
Yeah.
And then it all started, realistically, we said, the smart plays. I'm not taking anything away from Draymond.
Yeah.
And then Steph started cooking and getting those calls. And like you said, when you have a team that can make runs and is only down 5, when it seemed like the Raptors completely outplayed them, which led into the third, which we all know the narrative is the Golden State Warriors are a third quarter team.
Yeah.
And can I say something too? I know this doesn't really make a difference, but it does. It's sometimes why you open the gates early to big games like this. The Raptors fans, and I know you're enjoying the moment at the NBA Finals, but you try your best at sometimes like this to make it back to your seats to the start of the third quarter. Instead of, and I know it might not mean something, but
No, it
it's
does.
quieter in there. There's no loud defense chants. Like the Warriors can hear themselves to call plays and all that. Little things count like this. And when you got all these people in the lounge and everything coming back with like a 7 minutes to go, right? And look what happens when the Warriors kind of went on their run. It's kind of like they're playing in an open gym,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Look, we're in the NBA Finals. I get it, but
Yeah. No, and I mean,
Well,
it's a gift and the curse of being able to sell your tickets for thousands of dollars to get in.
Yes.
Like the people
And
that
I
can
get it,
afford
yeah.
that are the people in Gucci Row eating their sushi in the back, and
Right.
they're the bandwagon fans,
But
right?
if you look, it's an pretty much empty sections
Lower
for the
bowl,
first
yeah.
lower bowl, first couple. You know, you got to wait till whistle till you get to your seats, and it's like.
And in spite of that, I will say, for the most part, shouts to the fans for still being loud, right? Like you could hear it through the TV.
Yeah.
By all, Twitter's telling us that the building is rocking.
Yeah.
You're hearing all the U.S. media people. Shouts to the dude, my guy Crufts the Legend, who is also there saying he's never heard a crowd like this before. He's been to a bunch of different NBA Finals games. That was really cool. And we see the boards up on the television right now, but 24-1 run. The Warriors went on from a minute left in the second quarter to about the 6:20 mark in the third quarter, right? And that essentially was the only spurt of the game where you're saying, yeah, Golden State beat you. And that's I think was your point.
That was my point.
Your point is it's just one little run of the game in 2 games now, right? And other than that, the Raptors have outplayed them. And that's kind of why, Emma says, thanks for the therapy session. And you said I was like kind of happy. I'm not happy, but I'm just kind of like, nah. I still think the Raps are better.
Yeah.
And one thing we should bring up is the injury problems of Golden State, right? So Steph was sick, and for people that weren't watching the US feed, Doris Burke had 3 different reports in the first quarter, if not
by
second
the first quarter, she had 3 reports.
3 different reports talking about how Steph Curry was sick. They ran a montage showing Steph kind of not like he didn't look himself, and she said that he was getting medication from one of the trainers, hydration,
Every
all these
time
different
someone
things.
else was at the line, he was going to the bench grabbing a Gatorade.
Yeah, so he was dealing with the sickness or something. Obviously, we know that one play where Kevon Looney got hurt, where he
broken
bounced.
collarbone. Maybe
It was
broken
chest contusion. I thought they said no.
I thought I saw collarbone, but I could be wrong. But it's
I
something
thought I saw
that
it was a chest contusion.
Let's check it out. But it could be something that could linger.
He was icing his shoulder and whatever.
Yeah, so and that play was just crazy because he was trying to cover Kawhi and he just bounced off Kawhi and slammed hard against the floor. And it was just a straight weight room play.
So
right?
if we're talking about the injuries, right? I think Klay's going to be back. I mean, he looked like he was hobbled a bit, but you made the point. I don't know if everybody saw it. I guess they showed it the pregame. Mr. Kevin Durant was on the floor. Appreciate it. Wearing flip-flops.
This was last game. This was yesterday. Yesterday at practice.
Yesterday. Wearing flip-flops.
Yeah.
And walking pretty gingerly.
Yeah.
Does that look like a man to you that's ready to come back at top form in the NBA Finals in Game 3 or 4?
No, not to me.
I think
he might come back and play.
I think
unless he's faking the hobble for the
which
cameras.
would be a lot.
Who
knows in this era of NBA
I think
basketball?
at the end of the day, it's NBA. Until he steps on the court, I'm not worried about Kevin Durant.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Rachel Nichols says that Steve Kerr on Klay Thompson said, quote, Klay said he'll be fine, but he could be half dead, and he'd say he's fine. He pulled his hamstring, and he thinks it's minor. We'll see.
Anything on Kevon Looney?
The last thing I saw on Kevon Looney was that he had the chest contusion. Hold on 1 second. Rachel Nichols also says she saw Klay in the locker room, and just as he had with Steve Kerr, he told me he intends to play in Game 3 despite his hamstring strain. Also added that it's not as bad as a high ankle sprain he suffered in last year's final. He did miss a start after that he didn't miss a start after that injury either.
Yeah, he's never missed a playoff game.
So he's going to gut it out and try to play regardless. That's what it looks like. But if Steph Curry was sick, Klay Thompson's hobbled, Kevin Durant's hobbled, Looney's out. So now Boogie Cousins is coming off an injury. The Warriors are right there for the taking. And that's kind of why I'm like, whatever, it's 1-1. I have faith in the Raptors to be able to win a road game, so I'm not really worried about things from that perspective either.
Yeah, if you could bring it back to Game 5, even as well, then you got 2 out of 3 in your own home court, right?
Yeah, I mean, you just try to hold court, right?
I think at the end of the day, I mean, obviously after Game 1, the whole city was confident. Right, I seen a lot
going back to the Philly series.
Exactly,
exactly that.
Exactly,
no?
right. So I seen a lot of Raps in 4 and Raps in 5.
Yeah.
No.
It's Golden State, I mean, if we were playing Portland or whatever, yeah, of course, right. But at the end of the day, it's Golden State. They got 4 All-Stars.
Can we talk about Fred VanVleet? His defense on Steph was amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, shouts to Nick Nurse too, because you mentioned the box and one that they played
Yeah,
late.
the box and one in the last
So-
5 minutes where they went scoreless.
Yeah, and basically the box and one is essentially you have one person guarding the other team's best player, and the other 4 guys are
Zone.
playing a zone. And that's basic. I mean, once Klay Thompson's not there, it's just Steph Curry's the only threat.
Yeah.
And you can watch those dudes on the Warriors. We told you we've been saying this in the preview shows. We said this in after game 1. Dudes not named Steph and Klay don't really want to shoot.
Yeah.
It's either going to be Draymond giving them dunks and nothing else. And you mentioned Fred. Fred has done a solid job on Steph Curry.
Yeah.
Injured or not, you're on the floor and you're playing.
Got
So
3
whatever your
steals.
shooting numbers are.
Yeah.
One of
Fred-
the only plus players on the Raptors.
Yeah, I mean, he was really the only other guy other than Kawhi that you could say had a good shooting night, right? I mean, 7 of 17 is okay, but a lot of misses late. For the most part, Fred was a positive player. And if he's getting you 17 points and he's guarding Steph Curry's getting 23 points, I think the Raptors take that equation.
Yep.
But what's the
yeah,
thing
of
from
course.
Fred that you're seeing the most? Is it the defense?
Yeah, it was the defense, the steals late. I mean, Kyle fouled out and was playing with 5 fouls, but we weren't really worried, right? Because this is the new Fred Senior, right? So, I mean, all jokes aside, like
No, that's real.
at the first quarter, we all said to each other, Danny's playing great defense on Steph. He's running around.
Fred also
Steph
gives you that offense.
couldn't get a shot off. He went 0 for 6. And then Fred took over, right? I mean, Steph's going to get his points regardless, but
Yeah.
he took over, played great defense, pretty much essentially ran the offense. The dribble handoffs for him. Kawhi is instead of Kyle. His offense is still going strong.
Yeah.
I mean, if we can have this kind of effort from Fred on both sides for games 3, 4, and however long it goes, I mean, that's a bonus for the Raptors.
Your thoughts on Freddie?
Fred, I mean, the defense is already. I mean, I've obviously been reading stats and other things. So he obviously, he's one of those guys where he keeps up and puts a body on Steph, and him not being the smallest guy on the court, he gets that benefit of the doubt as
Steph
well.
is usually
So
people
he can place Fred.
taller than
He
him
can probably
guarding
it's right. So he can play Steph tougher than
eye level.
the
Yeah.
average other
Yeah.
guard, right? But he also gives you that offense, and it's not just the 3-point shooting. I mean, other than
He could break down his guy off the
right,
dribble.
and then other than Kawhi, he's the only one that actually just goes and he's the smallest guy on the court, and he was making layups in
Yeah.
the lane,
Yeah.
going
was
up,
another thing-
going up against Cousins, going up against the bigger guys, right? And he's making those layups,
Yeah.
and his aggressiveness, and I think his confidence at this point, I don't see it stopping.
No.
Right? If he was just hitting those threes, like end of the game, he's got 15 points and he's shooting 5 or 7 from
Yep.
3, you'd be like, okay, well that can't last, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that he's breaking down people off the bounce, taking it into the lane, right? How many times have we seen Danny Green or even Kyle, right? And I think that's one of the things that Kyle, he'll break down his man, but he'll either try and get that call and hope the ball goes in, right? Instead of trying to make the layup and get in the call,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Freddie's been a plus player for the Raps, but definitely like it can't be on Fred coming off the bench
Right.
to be the Raps' second leading scorer, right? That's got to be Kyle
Definitely.
Lowry
Yeah.
or Siakam or Gasol. Danny Green, I thought, did a good job as well. I mean, I'm not mad at Danny Green in this
No,
game. If
not
you're
at all.
expecting more,
Yeah.
8 points, he hit 2
Perfect.
threes, 5 rebounds, played solid defense. Cool. You take that. You want him at him playing at 25 minutes is cool because he's fresh. And so
Right.
when him
Someone's in
and
foul
Norm
trouble.
come in, right, they're fresh and you're able to play defense first. Norm, I wouldn't even be mad if Norm got a bit more minutes either, right? Because Norm is another guy who is aggressive. He can break his guy down off the dribble. And I think the Raptors need more of that.
Exactly.
And it's not just guys standing in the corner waiting to shoot. You got to be able to make plays. Cut, make plays, try to finish hard at the basket. And they got that in the first half from Norm. And in the second half, just most of the minutes went to Kyle and Fred. And Norm kind of didn't get those minutes. And
Right.
I think you got to figure out a way to get Norm a little bit more because I think he can be a positive factor in this. Also, at some point, do you think of just going smaller, right? Like less minutes of Gasol and Serge and try to go smaller? I don't know. You can mess around with a bunch of different things in this series. There's a lot of different options, and it's only game 2, so there's room for
Adjustments.
definitely. Let's get some more comments here because Gordon says there were too many ghost or phantom foul calls for a 268-pound guy. Boogie fell or stumbled a lot.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
flaring everywhere.
Oh yeah.
I think that's the NBA, right? Like the stars know they're going to get the call.
Yeah.
So even when they're not on their game or they know there's nothing really coming from that. I'm going to get to the line.
I want to know what the commenters think of that Steph not even in the game jumping with Cook.
Yeah, Cook hits a 3. Steph's at the scores table about to sign in to check into the game. Cook hits a 3. I think they thought there was a timeout, but the Raps didn't call timeout. No. But Steph's on the court and does a jump and bump celebration with Quinn Cook while the play's still going on.
How's that not a delay of game? I have no
how's
idea.
It not something?
It's too many men. Like I know this isn't the NHL, but it's called something.
Oh man, this is funny. I don't know how to pronounce this, but I'm going to go with @Stillas. Says, considering we didn't get any calls in the first, we couldn't make a bucket in 4 minutes in the fourth, and even after that 20-0 run by Golden State in the third, we barely lost.
Yeah.
That's how I'm looking at
stings.
it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's definitely reminiscent of game 2 in Philly and game 1 in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Those are games where you look at it, you're like, damn, we could have had those games. But I always point back to this, and shouts to Kenny Smith. OG Kenny Smith, obviously, right? Kenny Smith always said, after the Raps were down 0-2. No, sorry. After the Raps lost that game in Milwaukee, Kenny Smith said, you know if your team has a championship mentality based off the way that you react to that loss. If you're like down and you're like, oh no, that was our chance. We let that slip away. Then you're like, okay, you're in trouble. But if you look at it and you come out of this game and you're thinking, no, we got these guys. Yeah. Like, we're right there. We can beat these guys. We got them. Then your team's okay.
To further your point, did you notice Kawhi leaving at the end of the game was clapping and saying, as if to say...
I didn't see that.
I caught it.
I've seen that, yeah.
He was clapping as to say, okay, we'll give it to them.
It's a series now.
But I think...
It's a series.
We saw your guys' best,
right?
I guess. You're hobbled. We'll let you get this one. But it's to further your point. Kawhi can bring that
mentality,
OG Kenny Smith mentality into there, and then let's hope, because I caught that at the end. I caught Kawhi clapping hard,
right,
showing a little bit of emotion.
So I feel like there's still a mentality in Toronto where some of us are just happy to be here. Like, it's Raptors in the finals. When is this ever going to happen again? So it's more like we're here. I don't care if we get swept. So they came into it with that. Like, if this is Golden State, I don't expect us to win, right? So there's still that oh my God.
But that was the same thing against the Bucks.
You mean we could actually win here?
Yes.
Right? You know what I mean? So the fact that we lost this close game is going to be like,
and then we
now this is the Raptors team I was expecting that was going to lose to Golden State.
We saw
where
that
they're not looking at the positives.
Yeah. We're matching them or outplaying them as we have that. Yeah, now a lot of people are more invested. And that happens with every series anyways. When you get over a big grinding series, you take your collective breath again. You're like, okay, game 1. You know, like, we're not, you know what I mean? And so now we have a series now.
As Siddiqui on Twitter says, well, we've had a shooting game like this every series so far.
Yep.
Totally true. Fresh LA, I'll get your take on this. This loss is on Nick, man, for not having us ready for the third quarter. I mean, I don't know if you could blame the coach for the team coming out flat in the third quarter.
I don't blame Nick because
he took 2 timeouts. He did everything he could.
Took the 2 timeouts, and it didn't wait. He didn't wait for it to be a 12-0 run.
Yeah.
He took him at 6 and then again at 12. Like he called the timeouts. He's not on the court. It's on the players.
Yeah, and
right?
Again, go back and look at the buckets the Warriors were getting. Like, not only were the Raptors just missing shots, but also the buckets the Warriors were getting. It was all like back cuts and like Draymond finding guys on back.
Simplified.
Game
right?
had what, 3 alley-oops or something. I don't know if it was even in that run, but it was in some sort of run there.
James says, sucks to lose that game, but let's be real here. We weren't going to sweep the Warriors, LOL. Also
you don't
true.
Have to sweep, but to get your 2 at home would have been nice.
Another comment here says, that loss felt so unnecessary. Underdog mindset. That game was within grasp. Imagine if that goaltending was called. I mean, Yeah, that was a bad call early on.
Is that the
It was
Siakam
early on
when
in
Clay
Siakam
hit the
yeah.
rim?
But again,
Siakam
Siakam
has to put that
missed it,
down.
yeah.
he
It's
has
got
to
to go
dunk
down.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
again, that was the same thing. He went up to dunk it, but you could tell he was Clay being there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and that threw him off. And yes, it's a goaltending because Clay touches the rim. But if Siakam just goes up through
Hard.
contact,
Like
and
there's no
dunks it-
Giannis, there's no Embiid
But Clay,
anymore.
but,
Like go.
but this is the thing is Clay didn't even touch him, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, Clay touched the rim, goaltending, rules, whatever.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you put that down, everybody's energized. The
Yep.
crowd's going rah, the
Yep.
bench is going crazy,
Yep.
and it stems the flow.
Totally. My guy LTZ29 says it was never going to be easy as, quote, win your games. This is a series for real. Totally agree. Your boy
Oh, vivid
Says-
body tanning.
says, can someone please tell me why everyone is blaming the refs? That was the ugliest third quarter I've ever seen.
Good point.
Yeah, we agree with you there for sure. And then the next comment right after, the reason why Toronto lost is because the BS foul calls. That's kind of how the fans
Listen,
fan
Sheldon
base
Yeah,
put
works.
out
that's
his
what it
stats,
is.
guys.
That's what
We
it
had
is.
3 more free throw attempts
Yeah.
than Golden State.
But again,
I'll admit,
it's
it was
when
the
those
timing.
happen.
It was the
It was-
timing
but-
of the fouls and the way the fouls were called. We've
Yeah.
mentioned them already before. If you guys weren't on the podcast, you just tuned in. There was a couple of them. The Steph putting his butt out when Fred VanVleet was kind of behind him with the momentum. Steph jumping to the left to block Siakam's lane, right? Kyle's what should have been a charge on DeMarcus Cousins wasn't.
Yep.
A couple. Siakam had the Steph Curry all ball
Yeah.
when it went out of bounds. I mean,
The 6 other
you're
Kawhi
talking-
drives to the basket
you're
that aren't
talking
called.
about- You're talking
So
about
it's-
10 to 12 points right there, which
And
swings.
Do you
the
know what it
whole
was
game.
too? For me, it resembled a lot of what happened at the start of the Bucks series, where the Raptors couldn't blow them out. They were close. They would get there, but Giannis was getting foul calls that would keep them in the game, keep them in the hunt, and that's how the Raptors lost game 1. That's how it was such a close game in game 3. Finally, in game 4, they were able to push through and blow them out. So, to me, the
Again,
signs
we're
are
all
still there. It's
Raptors fans.
possible.
We're all Raptors fans here. So you don't only have to beat Golden State. You have to beat Golden State and the refs. You came in but you came in knowing this. You came in knowing that.
But game 1 was ref great.
Yeah, but we're
No,
saying
but game
that
one
because
ref
the
great
Raps
because we
won.
won. It was not ref
right?
great.
Like we're saying
right?
that because the Raps won. They
Right?
just outplayed them.
Like we were aggressive.
I'm not,
So the fouls that the refs called against us that had Draymond and Clay in trouble, they had to call those.
Yeah, but
right?
you
Right?
can't blame the refs.
Right?
Right? It was
Draymond
bad,
and Clay were in the same type of foul trouble.
we had
but
5
we didn't get every-
minutes,
Without
literally
scoring.
down 106 to 98, where you could have just got back with a couple buckets
We
and
missed
a
shots.
missed Fred
Yeah.
shot and a missed Siakam and a missed Kawhi 3.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right?
You
All
make
in all-
you make all those shots and you lose by 2.
Not even.
then
You make 2 of those shots.
Two of
no,
those
but,
shots.
no. But I'm saying like
Yeah.
if you make all those shots
And you lose by 2, then you give
and
it
you
to
lose
them.
by 2,
Yeah.
and then you think back, oh well, if that call wasn't made and that call wasn't made, I give you that. But at this point, we should have won this game.
Yeah, my thing just is you can't have that run from the end of the third,
Right.
or sorry, the end of the second quarter, and to start the third where it's 24-1. You can't have that run, and
Nope.
you can't have that end of the game run.
Nope.
Right.
And those 2 things are the reasons why the Raptors lost. They gave you the gift of going 5 minutes with only scoring 3
Yeah.
points, and you couldn't capitalize and take the lead.
Exactly.
Kawhi
Can't
And
blame
Golden-
Jonas
just
Brothers.
and Golden
missed.
State's-
Kawhi gets that ball 9
That
out of
steal.
10 times. He just
Yeah.
missed that steal on Livingston.
Yeah.
Oh, and guys, Iguodala messed up. Like we talk about this, like there was no defender around him, and there's still a bunch of time he could have even wasted more.
Should
and
the
he took
Raptors have
shot.
fouled? Did you like that they played it out? Because
They
the
should have
difference in the
shot. They
shot
should have
clock.
fouled Draymond.
Yeah, the difference in the shot clock was basically
3 to 4
3 to
seconds.
somewhere around there. Yeah, and so did you like the fact that they played it out and just played defense, and you live with Iguodala getting a wide open shot,
No, listen.
or should they have fouled to try to extend
Well,
the game?
here's the thing: is that they could have fouled Draymond, yeah, but I mean, realistically, Kawhi was a hair away from getting that steal and a break, right? So, evidently, they did do the right thing. It wasn't their time. Like,
He hit the shot.
missed, yeah.
But
he
Iguodala
hit
hit
the
a
shot.
shot.
But at the same
Kawhi
time-
missed the steal.
At the same time, there was
We're all
a
in the
chance for them just to foul Livingston as well,
True.
right?
yeah.
So I mean,
Tough
They were down
loss
two,
for the
right?
Raps.
No,
knowing
Yeah.
the outcome, you think, hey, if they would have fouled, yes, but come up with that steal,
a tie
Iguodala
game.
misses that shot.
Here's my thing. No, you were going to say something.
No, I was going to say they make that steal, and Kawhi has a lane to the basket. It's a tie game.
I was going to say, you mentioned what Kawhi's reaction was at the end of the game.
Yeah.
I paid attention to Golden State's reaction, and they seemed that they were like really happy.
Yeah.
And that to me shows more
During a
than
series,
like that kind of just like, oh no, we were really in trouble.
Yeah.
Right? Like they were
Yeah.
really worried, and you know,
Like,
Clay's
woo!
they don't exactly. And to me, that's almost great if you're the Raptors. Going along with what you said about Kawhi, Kawhi's kind of like, yeah, our guys didn't shoot well, our shots didn't fall, but overall, like we outplayed them.
Yeah.
So I think that's our collective message
Well,
to the
Steph
fan
Curry
base.
said after game 1, yeah, okay, we're down 1-0, not the end of the world.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm going to paraphrase, and I don't know what Kawhi's going to say, but I'm sure his attitude, especially like I said, seeing him at the end of the game was, yeah, okay, the series is split. Not the end of the world.
But and that's what I was saying. We're going into this series, this 1-1.
Yeah, it got
It's
away,
almost like
but
that's what you're
fine.
expecting,
Yep.
right? So the Raptors are leaving here now, going to Oakland, thinking, well, this is what we expect it to be, right?
Yeah.
So the latest here on Klay Thompson, he's expected to receive an MRI on his hamstring, but he's told Chris Haynes of Yahoo, no, I don't see myself missing game 3.
Yeah.
I mean, you
We're
take
trying
that.
to find out if anybody can even comment. If you guys can search Kevon Looney and see really what happened with him, it looked
not
bad.
But I'm not even
No,
worried
I'm
about
not
Looney
either,
because
but we're just
he
because
really
we're
hasn't
going
been
back and
he
forth.
really hasn't
But
been
that
effective.
gives DeMarcus
Yeah.
Cousins more minutes.
Yeah, you see
Where
more
how does he
Boogie.
play? Like I
but
said
I think-
earlier,
right,
where he
but-
can't play as loosely as he wants because I mean, we're gonna put him Bogut.
Yeah.
I mean, they started Jordan Bell. Jordan Bell didn't see the court this year. So
he
I mean,
barely played
so
in
so
this
I mean,
game,
I
yeah.
think so. What I think is I think that Cousins is more of a difference maker in this series than those other guys,
Yeah.
right?
So I'm going to shout out my guy Josh Lewenberg here, who does a great job covering the team for TSN. But his Twitter account, he's got a bunch of funny quotes that we'll wrap up on here. He asked Kyle Lowry about the officiating. Kyle Lowry said, quote, "Listen, I'm not going to get in trouble, but a couple of them, I didn't think I fouled, but they were called. And you got to just keep moving on. At the end of the day, I got to put myself in a better position to not foul." Interesting. Mark Gasol. What will the Raptors have to do to bounce back and win Game 3 on the road? Mark Gasol, quote, "Defend and score more points than the other team." I like the Raptors taking on the Kawhi mentality
Yeah.
of just being
Yeah.
like, yeah, whatever. And to follow that suit, Kawhi was asked if he would rather see the ball in Iguodala's hands than anybody else's hands on that final possession. Quote, "No, we wanted to see it in our hands. We wanted to get the steal."
Yeah, exactly.
Fred VanVleet, quote, "You guys didn't think this was going to be a sweep. I don't know what you guys thought this series was going to look like, but we went into it expecting a dogfight."
True.
Sounds about
and
right.
you should have.
Yeah. Seems like a perfect point to wrap things up on the Wrap It Up podcast. No?
Yep.
Yeah?
Let's do
How we
this.
feeling? So again, Mikey, let me know. Where can people find you if they want
Yeah.
to hit you up in between the games?
Like I always say, like Sheldon always says, like Q always says, the community is amazing. We got great commenters on there. I know they'll be talking up a storm tomorrow when the podcast goes on YouTube. The community, we always look, check, and reply as much as we can. Instagram, MikeBello_6. Follow and hit me up, guys.
This Instagram feed's about to go down, so if it does in the middle of this, don't worry. We're just wrapping up the podcast anyways. But yes, shouts to all the people on Instagram following and rocking with us at Sheldon Alexander. Taking your comments and questions there. Appreciate all you guys. Tanya, I know exactly who that is. She says, "I blame Obama." Please do not say such blasphemous things.
Yes.
Shouts to Barack Obama
Yes.
for coming
Straight
through to support Masai
When-
and the Toronto Raptors.
When the Raptors win, they're going to Obama's house.
Right? Amazing. Q, where can people find you, man?
On all social media at simply_just_Q or at DDS Caps. Again, on all social media. Check us out. You can also purchase our stuff at ddscaps.com. Yeah, man, it's all this means is we get at least one more game of that we get to do this Wrap It Up podcast and talk to the people. So I'm encouraged.
Again, Raptors lose 109-94 as Golden State ties things up, ties up the NBA Finals at 1. Again, Kawhi Leonard was a high scorer in the game with 34 points thanks to getting to the line 16 times, 16 for 16. Also add in 14 rebounds for Kawhi. Yeah. Kawhi brought it. He gutted his way through, didn't shoot well, but star players find a way to get it done. Same thing goes for Steph Curry, who battled through sickness. He still finished with 23 points in this game, 6-17 shooting, really saved the team with this effort. Big storylines going forward. The injury status of Klay Thompson, who's dealing with the calf injury. Boogie Cousins, we know he was in the starting lineup, had a huge effect. Kevon Looney also out. And obviously the Kevin Durant watch looms over this entire series.
His flip-flops.
So many more storylines heading into this series, and with so much time in between, I'm going to give you guys the same warning I've been giving you guys. Not all takes are created equally, so choose wisely who you decide to listen to with what you're talking about, because certain people are exposing themselves about how much basketball they know and watch, and hey,
all I gotta say is
choose wisely.
Is look back at what they were saying after the Raps were down 2-0 to Milwaukee. Yeah. Look what they were saying after the Raps were down 2-1 to Philly, and look where we are now. We're in the NBA Finals.
But also just what they were saying like before those series, right? Because everyone's fine to say like once the series is going, and now you're making your picks because you're based off what you're watching. Yeah. Which cool, I get. We all do that. But like at the end of the day, there's another level to this. And I still think that if you're the Toronto Raptors, the biggest factor here is that everybody not named Klay or Steph doesn't want to shoot. So you live. If Draymond gets 17, make him get 17 every game. Iguodala hits that big shot late, cool. Let him do that. Live with the results and trust that the percentages of Iguodala, Boogie, hobbled Boogie Cousins, Quinn Cook, all those dudes.
Alfonso McKinney.
Yeah. It's all going to even out for the Raptors because this is not the same Golden State Warriors team that everyone's trying to tell you that they are. The Raps know it. If you watch basketball, you should know it and understand it. This will be a long series, a good series, but the championship is there for the Raps to take it. So thank you guys for tuning in to this Wrap It Up podcast. Again, my name is Sheldon Alexander. You can follow me and this podcast live on Twitter after each and every Raptors game at Shell Alexander. Same thing goes for Instagram. Like and follow at Sheldon Alexander. This gets repackaged into a podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, and on YouTube. Like and subscribe there. Just look for the feed On Blast Podcast. Like and tell your friends, because I used to pray for times like this to rhyme like this. This is the Wrap It Up On Blast Raps post-game show, as always, unpolished and unapologetic. Until next time, see ya.
Peace, guys.
Peace, Toronto.
On blast.